You're listening to today's inspirational message on the Proverbs with Kurt Bjorklund.
Today, we're going to look at verses 2 through about 12 of Proverbs 28. And this does drive to this idea that righteousness means being willing to disadvantage yourself for the good of the community, and unrighteousness or wickedness is being willing to disadvantage the community for the good of yourself. That there's a sense in which what we do with our own kind of best interest indicates where we are in terms of righteousness. Just listen to these verses. Listen to the descriptions that are here. Starting in verse 2, when a land transgresses, it has many rulers. But a man of understanding and knowledge, its stability will long continue. In other words, when there's turnover in leadership, it means that there's constant turmoil in terms of not being for the public good. A poor man who oppresses the poor is like a beating rain and leaves no food, oppressing the poor. Those who forsake the law praise the wicked, but those who keep the law strive against them. So praising the wicked means you're forsaking the law of God. Evil men do not understand justice, but those who seek the Lord understand it completely. Better is a poor man who walks in his integrity than a rich man who is crooked in his ways. The one who keeps the law is a son with understanding, but a companion of gluttons shames his father. Whoever multiplies his wealth by interest and profit gathers it from him who is generous to the poor. If one turns his ear away from hearing the law, even his prayer is an abomination. A couple comments just from some commentators on this. Alan Ross says, God will not listen to the prayers of those who will not listen to him. McCain says, one who fails to attend to Yahweh's Torah is rasa, which is the word here for wicked. And even if he is a man of prayer. And so prayer may be a covering, but if you don't actually listen to the law of the Lord, he says, then you don't fit the category. Whoever misleads the upright into an evil way will fall into his own pit, but the blameless will have a godly inheritance. A rich man is wise in his own eyes, but a poor man who has understanding will find him out. When the righteous triumph, there is great joy. But when the wicked rise, people hide themselves. So this is really talking about a societal outworking of righteousness and unrighteousness, and how when people who seek the good of the community and God's law at their heart, even if they don't necessarily know all the law in and out, but that is the heart of where they're coming from, society thrives, society rejoices. But when there is wickedness, then society has a lot of turnover in its leadership and people recoil from the public square. Now, you could say, okay, that means that the party that I'm not part of is the wicked party, and we need to get them out of power. And obviously part of the problem is that it's the churn sometimes that indicates the lack of God's law that's at the heart of so much of what happens in our world. And so here's really the takeaway from a righteousness, unrighteousness standpoint, and what we want to understand here, and that is the more that you are personally for the public good and have that rooted in your understanding of God's law, the more that we support people where that is their case, who are in positions of influence, not just in government and politics, but in medicine, education, and in business, industry, in educational institutions, then you will see society thrive. So public involvement matters in terms of righteousness. It's not something that is merely a personal pietistic approach, but it has a public engagement, and it's not afraid to engage and to move toward and point toward the goodness and the beauty of God's law. So are you publicly engaged, or are you simply trying to do private righteousness, personal piety, rather than being for the public good.
Thanks for joining us here today. There's a lot of great content to explore on Orchard Hill Plus and on the Orchard Hill main feed from the weekend. Have a great day.